I have been a Pinterest manager and doing Pinterest audits for over 3 years now. And in that time, I have seen a lot of brand new accounts making a lot of similar mistakes. So for today's video, I want to tell you the top 5 most common mistakes I see beginner Pinterest marketers make. And if you'd like to get a personalized Pinterest audit from me so that you can see exactly what it is that you are doing wrong and right with your account, I'll leave some information for that down below in the description. Now, the first thing that I see by far is that your account is too new. That is one of the first things that I look at when I'm doing a Pinterest account audit. And sometimes before I even do the audit, I will ask for people's link just so I can get a quick overview of what their account looks like. And sometimes their account is just simply too new to even warrant needing a Pinterest audit. So I have actually turned people away because a lot of times the accounts are either only a few months old or sometimes they are created within the same month that they ask for the Pinterest audit. And I want to make these things something that is worth people's time and money. And if my only feedback for you is your account is simply too new, that is not worth your time or your money. I want to be able to give actionable tips and make sure you actually leave with something that you can do for your account other than just saying your account is too new and that's it. So if your account is brand new and you've just opened it up within the last few months, the reason that your account is not growing is simply for that fact alone. Some people, I think, want Pinterest to grow really fast and they have high expectations for how quickly they can grow their Pinterest account, when in reality, Pinterest takes a long time to grow. So sometimes the only thing that you are doing wrong is your account is just too new. You haven't given time for your pins to mature, rank in search, be circulated on the platform, different things like that. And this may surprise some people, but new accounts can take from 6 to 12 months to actually start to gain traction and take off and see your pins ranking in search and circulating, all those things. And I don't say that to discourage you, just to give you a baseline of what is typical to see on Pinterest. Your account can grow faster, your account can grow slower. It really depends, but 6 to 12 months is a good enough time for you to see, okay, what am I doing? Do I need to tweak my strategy? Things like that. And I just want to warn you to lower your expectations when it comes to Pinterest, because if you've only been doing this for a few months, that is likely one of your only issues, is you just haven't been doing this long enough. But if you do stick it out and your Pinterest account does start to take off, it's going to be worth it in the end, because pins can rank and circulate on the platform for years after you've originally pinned them, so just stick to it. The next problem I see with new accounts is keyword research is not done properly or not done at all. Now, this is what takes it the most time for me when I do the Pinterest account audits, because I set up a doc for you that has all of the research for your blog posts, your boards, and your entire account set up in a nice Google Sheet for you to reference whenever you start to pin your Pinterest pins. And I actually made this doc available in my shop for anybody that's interested. It is just a Google Sheet that allows you to put in your board descriptions, your board titles, any keyword research that you've done for them. And also, since blog post is another part of that, or any other links that you have, there's room for your blog post links, any keyword research that you've done for the descriptions. You can also put your description in there so you can reuse that if you need to. And you can set up a list of boards that you want to pin all of your blog post links or just Pinterest links in general too. That way you can create a lot faster and batch create when you are pinning onto Pinterest. All the links are right there for you. All the information is right there and it makes everything a lot faster. I give this to all of my Pinterest account audit clients and fill it out for them. But if you want to fill this out for yourself, I'll leave a link to it in my shop down below in the description. The next thing I look at is your boards. How many of them are there? How many of them are active? How many of them are actually useful to your account? Do you have a ton of boards that you never use or not enough boards? Now, the mistake I usually see here is one extreme or the other. People either have 3 boards on their account in total that are not very good, or they have 25 boards that they never pin to or are duplicate ones and don't need to be there. You need to find a balance when it comes to your Pinterest boards, and there really isn't a limit or a benchmark for how many boards you should have anymore, but you want to have as many as you can handle, which means keep active all at once and enough that makes sense for your account. So what I mean by that is don't create boards just to create them. They need a strong purpose for being there. And you need to keep them all pretty active, otherwise inactive boards are gonna hurt your account. And you also don't need 3 boards with the exact same topic, like house cleaning tips for your house, and keep your house clean. Believe it or not, I have seen unaudited Pinterest accounts that have so many boards and half of them all said the exact same thing. That's not something that you need to do. You can just combine them all into one board, and that's going to make it a lot easier for keeping them all active, pinning, and having all your keywords in one place. But you don't want to go to the other extreme and only have a few boards on your account, and yet they're all extremely broad where all of your pins can fit onto them. For example, travel tips, ultimate travel tips, and travel hacks. This is a similar problem to the last one where they're all very much the same. They all pretty much say the same thing, but they're also really super broad, and there's not a lot of specific keywords in any of those board titles. So in that case, I would just combine them all into one and have one broad board on your account and a bunch of other ones that are more specific to what you're pinning to. Because that's not to say that you shouldn't have a broad board on your account. Like I have one that's blogging tips for beginner. I have one that's YouTube tips. I can fit a lot of my Pinterest pins onto those, but I also have ones that have smaller topics like Canva help for beginners and make money online. They're like smaller topics that are not super broad, just like blogging tips for beginners. The other thing that I see about boards is the titles aren't very searchable, which is kind of what we were already talking about. Something like the last tip with travel tips, that could be a good title. It definitely could be better. It could be more specific, like travel tips for beginners or travel tips for this specific airport or this specific place. And you can get more specific to what people are searching, but travel tips, it does the job. But some people put what I call fluffy or cutesy board titles. And there's something just like coffee, tea, and travel, or cute cuts for like haircuts or something. And the problem there is no one is searching up that search term into Pinterest, because Pinterest at its core is a search engine. It is not a social media site. People go there to search things kind of like YouTube. They go there to search for problems. They go to search for DIY projects. They go to search for travel tips, things like that. So if you have something that is just called cute cuts and you want to put all of your best haircuts in there, or you want to give travel tips and you name it coffee, tea, and travel, no one is searching that up. It's not going to show up in a search. And so it's not really going to be found, because that is where many people are going to find your account and start to follow you, is when they search something up. Your board or your account or your Pinterest pins are going to show up. So you want to make sure that your board titles are actually searchable and have keyword research titles. And the last thing that I see with boards is they don't have a board description, or the board description that is there isn't very good because there isn't, again, keywords in the board description. So the board description is important because it tells Pinterest what the board is about. People really aren't going to go to your boards and actually see what the description is. People probably aren't ever going to click through to your account. They might, but for the most part, they're probably just going to interact with your pins on the feed. But that doesn't mean you can neglect your boards and your board titles, because if someone searches up travel tips and searches by board, your thing can show up. And you also really just want the description mostly for Pinterest, so that you can put as many keywords as you can on your account in general, so that Pinterest will know, okay, this is what her account is about. This is what people are searching. So we want to have her stuff or his stuff show up in the search when these people are searching. I mean, you know how Google works. If you search up something on Google, you're going to get an ad for that same thing on Facebook or whatever. Same thing works with Pinterest. If someone searches up travel tips for the first time, or they search up cookie recipe for the first time, all of a sudden now you refresh the feed and you're going to see a bunch of cookie recipes and things like that, because Pinterest realizes, okay, they like this. So they're going to search for other people who have those keywords on their account, and they're going to put those pins in front of the people. So you want to make sure that your account has as many keywords in it as possible so that Pinterest can do its job. Hopefully that makes sense. And so if you don't use your board descriptions, you're missing out on a valuable place to tell Pinterest more about your account, and just a valuable place to put keywords in general. The other major thing that I see from people is they are simply just not pinning consistently. And sometimes I can tell that at a glance just based off of when their boards were last active, because it does tell you when a board was last pinned to. And oftentimes I can just look and see how many pins have been posted to your account and see that you are not pinning very consistently there. And that is one of your problems. Of course, if you are not pinning, your account is not going to grow. And I think the big problem here with people is, like I said, they think that Pinterest is going to be easy. They can just put out a few pins and all of a sudden they're going to get the traffic. But like we talked about, that is not the case. Pinterest is going to take 6 to 12 months to take off generally. And so I think people tend to pin for a little bit, expect good results, see that they're not getting their return on their investment, and then they stop pinning, or they don't pin very consistently, and then their account doesn't grow. So then they come to me to figure out, what the heck am I doing wrong? And in reality, what you're doing wrong is you're just not pinning consistently. You're not being patient. You're not giving time for your account to grow. And sometimes that's the only issue, is you're just being impatient, which I totally understand, but sometimes that is the only issue. So if you want to pin to Pinterest, you have to understand this, be okay with not seeing results, but knowing that if you push through the kind of lull season on Pinterest, that you're going to get through the other side with results that are going to blow your mind. Because Pinterest is such a great tool for getting clicks to your blog, your services, your products, anything that you put on there. And going hand in hand with that, sometimes the pin designs just aren't very good. And honestly, this just comes with practice and time, because if you see some of the first pins that I pinned to my account, they were terrible. But over time, I started to realize this is what works, this is what doesn't. It just comes with time and practice. Your first pins probably are not gonna be that great, but you're gonna get better over time. But here are a few tips that you can use right now to make your Pinterest pins a little more clickable. The first thing you wanna do is make your text big and readable, because that's a lot of issues that I see with the accounts that I audit, is that their pin text is super small or there's a lot of it, and people are not typically going to read a bunch of text. Now, this isn't necessarily true because some of my best pins are infographics, but that's a little bit different. So this is a Pinterest pin here that just links directly to a blog post. It just tells you the exact title, but this Pinterest pin is an infographic. There's a little bit more on it. It's also a little bit bigger. This is one of the most popular Pinterest pins that I have. And it's because people will stop and read it. If you're doing a pin like this, you want to make sure the text is readable. But if you're doing an infographic or something like this, these also do really well. There's some nuances to like Pinterest, so you can try different things. But for the most part, these are the pins you're probably gonna be doing the most of. And you want to make sure that the text is readable. And that not only means the text being readable, so you want to put like some sort of color behind the text so that you can see it over the picture, but that also means you want to make sure the font is readable and the text is big enough. Because I know those cursive fonts are super, super pretty, but people are going to be looking on their phone and the text is going to be super small, pins are going to be super small. And so that cursive font is gorgeous, but it's also not very practical because it's not readable. And you also want to use high quality photos in your pins, and you want to make sure that you actually have permission to use those photos. So you don't just want to go to Google and find a nice travel picture and save that onto your Pinterest pin and pin it, because there might be copyright issues there. You might not actually have the permission to use those photos. So the best way to get high quality photos is with Canva Pro, because Canva in general has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of free pictures that you can use, and you know that you can use them, you have the license to use them. But if you get the pro version, you get access to a lot more, and they're a lot better and higher quality if you ask me. Not only that, you also with Canva Pro get access to a lot of other features like removing the background from the picture so you can make them look a little bit different, and you can get access to premium Pinterest templates as well. If you simply don't have enough time to create Pinterest pins for the week, you can get access to premium Pinterest templates. So Canva Pro is a must if you're going to be doing any Pinterest work and just blogging in general. I use it pretty much every single day, definitely multiple times a week. And if you want to check out that and test it out, I'll leave a link to that below in the description. So you can always use Canva Pro for designs. They have a ton of them on the free version, but the better ones are going to be on the Pro option. However, the problem with that is a lot of people have probably used those Pinterest pins, and if you use them exactly as they are, they're no longer going to be considered fresh pins if a bunch of people have used them before you. And when you buy Canva Pro, you don't know how many people have used those pins before you. So you definitely want to take them and use them as like a template and then adjust them to match your brand or change them up a little bit so they're not exactly the same as when you got them. Otherwise, they might not do as well. Or another option is you can take a look at the Pinterest templates that I have available up in my shop. I took a bunch of my best performing Pinterest pins and I put them in a pack to make it easier for you guys to create high quality pins that are going to do really well in Pinterest and in the search. So I'll leave a link to that below in the description. And if you want to get a personalized Pinterest audit from me, I'll leave the info for that down below. And me and Miss Millie say, make sure to like if you like, subscribe to my channel down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.